off your knees, girl. Get up. Stand face to face with your God, oh God, and find out what you are. Hello, my name is Human. Hello, my name is Human, and I came down from the stars. Hello, my name is Human.
Welcome to the My Name is Human Earth 2.0 podcast brought to you by MyNameIsHumanPod.com. I am Human Hazy.
I am Human Kangi.
And I'm Human Snoke.
And we're back after a slight delay. I mean, we did a podcast last Monday, didn't do one last Friday or this Monday. And it's mainly because there really hasn't been much to talk about, but that's changed over the last few days. So the first Shane tweet that we had, I think it was 2 days ago. Yeah, because he did the 48-hour timeline.
Right.
So he said, finally have signatures on one of our tech acquisitions. The tech will help us advance phase 3, but will also allow us to roll out the first E2 PvP prototype game, 3D in this case, throughout phase 2. Prototyping because I want to create API that allows creators to launch ideas. So, Kangi, what's your first initial reaction to that tweet?
Well, I think that our old friend of the show, Meta, probably summed it up best, and I've got his exact quote here, which is, "Great to hear you're making solid progress. Can you share who the acquisition was now that it's finalized?"
Of course not.
It's it sounds exciting. It's definitely good news. I mean, expected perhaps, but certainly good. Although you did mention, one component that I think was a little bit noteworthy, which was the PvP component being emphasized. Right? That's been more of a phase 3 concept.
Yeah. So it looks like they're going to have a phase 2 PvP element. And I know you and I aren't really into the PvP, but if I can do just a segment of my land for PvP, I might do that. As long as it really depends on the kind of system. Like if it's just plain out just playing something, then of course I'll do that. Snoke, I know you're a gamer. I know you're probably excited about the PvP.
I am very excited about the PvP. I've been waiting on this part of the game for a long while now, and it's ever since they first announced that there will be PvP. So I'm definitely excited about it.
So you're not opting out?
Nope, I'll definitely be joining and having fun, whatever it is.
What if dying means you lose your 750?
Oh God.
Oh.
This is like Fast and Furious racing for pink slips.
Right?
Stakes are high.
I don't know. Well, I'll have to read the terms and conditions.
So you might only play with your 10 tile plots if that's the case.
Exactly. I got a bunch of 10 tile plots and a bunch of 6 tile plots. So
yeah, play with those instead of the big ones.
Exactly. Now, I know we were talking about tweets, and he actually released another tweet a little bit shortly after. It goes, "End of fiscal year has been really intense this year. Working to wrap up deals before the end of June, but to expect an announcement over the next 48 hours, followed closely by Jules, which will officially kick off the initiation of Phase 2, to be followed by a steady release of Phase 2 centric features." So, Hazy, what do you think about that?
Well, first, let's say I told him when he tweeted that, I said, I hate that you put a time on it, because when you don't meet it, people are going to be disappointed. And sure enough, he didn't meet it. But to his credit, he was only a few hours late.
Right.
So I guess we can forgive him for being 51 hours after the initial tweet. So as far as being busy, wrapping up, Shane, dude, I love you, but you know what? You can't use being busy as an excuse. That's a given. You're going to be busy. You're going to have business deadlines. You need to schedule that, plan that, have it accounted for. So Jules, we'll get into it a little bit later, but that obviously when he said that it's going to be followed closely by Jules, and that's going to kick off the initiation of phase 2. Is it really? I mean, is the release of Jules enough to be considered that we're in phase 2? I have my opinion. What do you think, Kangi?
For me, so my argument is that we were not told anything about Jules as being associated with phase 2 when the initial, phase 2 concept was described, when the deadline was described. So for me, and yeah, this could be my preconceived notions. I could be being a stick in the mud about this, but I associate phase 2 with the things we knew about in November, December, January, which are things like resources and jewels. I guess you could argue they're part of like the greater umbrella of resources. But again, I think when most people think of resources, they're thinking of lumber or gold or, the things that were informing some of the purchases we were making. So that's my argument. Again, I could be being negative about this, but what do you think? What's your stance?
Well, I think so. I don't think we're in phase 2. I don't think being in Jules puts us in phase 2. Hey, kitty. But what I do think is it's going to be a key element of phase 2. Just from reading what Jules do, it's going to be a buff, so to speak, for what we're doing with resources. So in that regard, it's an element of phase 2, but I don't think it's enough to say we're in phase 2. Snoke, agree? Disagree?
I agree with you 100%. I think, let's take it back a couple months ago. You remember, Shane even said that Essence was the start of phase 2, and that was barely even mentioned at all lately. And now it's just about the jewels and stuff. So that's one thing I've been thinking about a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I know resources, Essence is a part of resources, but he did say Essence was going to be the start of phase 2 as well.
Yeah, way back when.
Yep.
So, we'll get into this a little bit more with the announcement that we're going to talk about later. But Nathaniel did go in the chat the same day that Shane tweeted. And he spent a little bit of time talking with one of the YouTube detractors. Seems to be a common thing. But he was actually in there before the YouTube detractor came in there. But he provided a lot of insightful information. Every time I see Nathaniel respond to someone, I come away impressed that this dude knows what he's doing. That all the detractors don't have a clue how talented this guy really is.
Right.
That he might have made a mistake with that buggy video because it didn't really showcase his true capabilities. And I think the way he responds and like he confuses me. I have no clue what he's talking about, but he sounds good. And I believe him. When he says he can do this and he can do that, and that he created a additional layer on top of Unity that no one's done before, I believe him. And he did talk about a second video coming out soon. It's going to have more detailed explanations. And he was careful not to give a timetable this time. So good on that. I don't like timetables unless you know.
Exactly. Right.
But he did say that he's going to show the whole USA model. So it's not just going to be that little 30 by 30 block in Austria. It's going to be the whole United States, and I'm excited to see that. Kenny?
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people. So let me start at the top. I think there's been a lot of parts of the team that different users are excited about. Some people are excited by Wolfgang's involvement. Some are excited by Nathaniel's involvement. Some by Dylan being involved. So I will definitely say from the Nathaniel side of things, it's to your point. One, he always sounds great. He's a fantastic salesman, but that makes it sound like I don't believe in him, which I genuinely, I do believe what he's saying, but because I don't know, the technical details, I am putting a little bit of like, well, I trust what he's saying.
Yeah, blind faith.
Just to be the devil's advocate a little bit, the fake it till you make it type thing. I don't believe that. I believe Nathaniel has great work.
But I would think that if he hadn't done drone, hadn't done the world builder, hadn't done the terrain composer.
Yeah, there's things that can demonstrate some of these capabilities.
We've seen his work.
Exactly. And the people that personally got me into it, the thing they were most excited about has always been this real-time rendering.
Yep.
So this potential this planned USA video is exactly the type of thing that I know at least some members of the community are excited to see. How about you, Snoke? What's your reaction to the planned video?
I'm excited for it. First of all, because it will be in the U.S. and so not just one little biome. Basically, it'll be the whole U.S. So it's going to be, and we're going to see different terrains. If it's like the U.S., we'll see mountain terrains, we'll see plains, we'll see desert, everything. So I think that's another cool feature. So I'm excited for it myself, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come from it. So
Yeah, and I mean, for me, the appeal of Earth 2 compared to something like Decentraland or Sandbox, which our boys are getting really into lately, our good friends. I get the appeal of something like Sandbox because you can actually create stuff, but I just can't get into the graphics. The Minecraft Roblox graphics just don't work for me. That's why one of the things that drew me to Earth 2 was these amazing graphics that are going to be rendered in real time. So for me, and I know for other types of gamers that are more into the realistic graphics, that this is part of the appeal of Earth 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Nathaniel even posted a photo, correct, of like Red Dead
Right, yeah,
Redemption 2, the up close,
and
highest sort of.
Yeah, and the terrain video is a million times better than that.
Right. So you have to obviously implement it in the game and show that it can be, done throughout the world. And yeah, I think that that's exactly what this video will hope to do. But I think that, we've talked enough about Nathaniel in chat. Nathaniel, we love you, but we'll probably have more to talk about next time with you being in chat again. So let's talk about today's announcement. So we mentioned at the top that Shane had tweeted, 48 hours, took him 51. But I think best way to break down the announcement is truly brick by brick. So at the top, Shane talked about the introduction of React, which at the time of the podcast is still pretty buggy, to be honest.
I don't know if it's the full rollout either. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it may not be. And I mean, and some of the small dumb problems have already been fixed, like the logo at the top not taking you back to the home page, and small things like that. So we knew that it was probably going to come with some warts, but technical debt, rolling this out as it stands. Not seeing the fruits of this labor yet necessarily, but I'm sure that we will as time goes on.
One thing that drives me crazy though about this announcement, he did another deadline. He said 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and
I know it's a couple weeks, but still, if you give deadlines and you don't if you don't hit them, then we see the repercussions.
Okay, humble brag here. Shane and I actually talk a little bit via DM. I'm probably one of the few people he actually responds to. So I actually asked him about that 2 to 3 week time frame because it was kind of confusing. Was it about Jules or was it about another feature? And he said Jules are live now. Another feature in a few weeks' time if React doesn't need too much attention. So that's what made me think that the React hadn't been fully implemented because he said that. So it's interesting to note that there's another feature coming in a few weeks.
And that could be possibly Essence, right?
Or resources.
Resources, yeah.
Right.
I think resources are going to come before Essence because Jules tie directly into resources.
Yeah, and I definitely would say that if resources are part of it, or even Jules and Essence by that time, I would almost certainly soften my stance on what's considered like the start of phase 2, because
so if that
would be a few more elements.
Right. If they add another element in 2 to 3 weeks, then I will say, okay, we're in phase 2. Jules is not enough.
Right. Yeah, that I totally agree with.
Yeah.
But sorry, I was we've talked about Jules enough, so Hazy, I do want to kick it to you to actually, be able to go through all the details on what was announced with those.
All right. So there is a segment on the website now where if you go to the resources tab, it shows Jules. There's nothing there yet. But what it did say on the announcement is Jules may appear on user-owned properties randomly and will have a limited amount of time to be claimed before they disappear. What I read from Thomas was 7 days. Jules can be used by users to tweak and optimize ongoing yield and functionality of their property production and much more in the near future. The initial spawn Jules will give an indication of their special ability throughout phase 2. However, Jules will soon be able to be destroyed, creating shards which can then be crafted, merged, and combined to discover new and potentially rare Jules with additional benefits. So hold on to as many Jules as you can claim. We'll also launch a bazaar to allow users the ability to trade their Jules. So there's a lot to get into here. There's there's three different elements: the initial jewels, the breaking down of jewels, crafting, oh, and selling. So there's four different elements. So I don't know how you want to handle this, Kenny, but kind of give me your thoughts, wide ranging, and then maybe we can narrow down subject by subject.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the first thing I think of when I think about the sort of breaking down of jewels and potentially creating new rare things, like I love that idea.
Oh yeah, me too.
It kind of reminds me of the Heraldric cube in Diablo 2, where if you went through enough different iterations of rune combinations, you could eventually get to these kind of wild benefits. So I think that just with how many permutations you have in that sort of system, you have a lot of possibilities. And I think that based on what we've seen, jewels would be used to increase your resource generation or maybe other things from your tiles. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of really cool variability just from like that particular component. And then of course the bazaar, the ability to sell and trade. That
you and I are all in on that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I mean, Snoke as well. I mean, there's certainly the financial benefits, but there's also, the ability to craft and improve your land. So, Snoke, talk a little bit. I mean, what was your reaction to the jewels announcement and some of the details that we got here?
Ever since he originally announced jewels a couple weeks ago, I always was wondering, like, what exactly could it be? Now, in this announcement, how he said you can destroy them and create shards, it kind of reminds me of other games I've played previously, which I'm trying to think of like a specific game, and I can't. But how you can mold them and make new things out of them. So I'm kind of excited by that. I'm excited that they're introducing these futures, but I have a sort of a fear that I kind of hope that it's not just a delay in getting us like further down the road for phase 2.
Hold on to that thought for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
We will definitely get there.
So that's just my personal opinion, but yeah. So, what are your thoughts, Hazy?
So, anytime I can do crafting, I love crafting. I play a bunch of games. I play Valheim, you craft. I play Diablo, you craft.
Yep.
I played World of Warcraft, you craft. I mean, anytime I can collect something and make something from that, it interests me. It's rewarding you for the time you put into the game.
Agreed.
So what I'm interested in is, so like, this has Wolfgang written all over it. I mean, this is obviously what Wolfgang's doing behind the scenes. This is his design work. So when you craft something and you take 2 shards, can you revert it, or is whatever you make, are you stuck with that? So you might have to do like 100 different combinations, like Kangi was saying with the Heraldric cube, before you actually get the one component that you actually need or want. So that's going to be interesting, because what that'll do is that'll drive the marketplace looking for those shards, because people want to craft the specific item. And so when people figure out the crafting recipes, basically what makes these items, that's going to drive the marketplace up for certain shards, certain gems. And to me, that's part of the exciting stuff. Having something to do like that will tide me over until they get to the next increment.
Yeah, and I'd say from like a market and sort of economic perspective, it frankly gives folks more reason to hold more variety of tiles potentially.
Yeah.
So, you can argue that that's, a bit of a tactic, but we always knew that there'd be benefits to holding many tiles and many tile types. So I think it just continues, kind of follows a trend of things that we already know and things that we're already valuing. Although still don't know anything about class benefits really, but.
Right. But what we do know is Thomas did say, the more tiles you have, the better chance you have to get jewels.
So I do think that there's going to be a higher
probability
of flexes being bought, 750 tile plots.
I sold 2 today after that. After Thomas, I went back and bought 2 more, but I sold 2.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I increased. I had 1, and now I'm up to, at least at the moment, I have 5. So I was definitely anticipating with some of the recent announcements over the last week. I thought, well, I should grab these if for no other reason than I think folks are going to start to pick them up.
You know,
Yeah,
sadly, I have a lot of properties, but I still didn't have a flex, which I need to get me one now.
so I think that'll be interesting, and also to see if there is a benefit, if there's a distinction between, and this is where my number crunching geekness is going to come in. I'm going to compare when I'm generating stuff. Okay, how many did my class 1s get? How many did my class 2s get? How many did my class 3? And I'm going to do compare. Is there a difference, or are they the same? I
Right.
think there will probably be a difference, but that's something that we're going to have to study and figure out over time. So that kind of element also plays into what I want. So
I agree.
I think jewels are exciting. I think it'll be more exciting when you can actually do things with them like crafting and upgrading properties and upgrading resources. It's going to be enough to tide us over for 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know. I don't think so. It's not enough for me. But if they can add that second element in 2 to 3 weeks, then I'll be satisfied.
Right. And that actually brings us to our third, our final component of his announcement. And he actually called it creativity, opening doors. This is where he announced that they are going to be creating the API suites. Basically having it so that, the players can be creative and be able to create whatever they want in this. And that's kind of the vision from the get-go. So, one thing he did say, he said late 2021 for this feature to be fully rolled out. I know he did say a little bit about the PvP game that they're creating is a part of this. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what other things are going to be included in the API suites. But what do you think, Hazy?
So the one concern I have is complexity. Is this going to be something only talented programmers can do? I think initially it might be. Just talking with Combo, he's really into this kind of thing, and that's his concern, is that the complexity is going to be limited to people that have proficiency in doing this kind of development work. I'm hoping there's like a middle ground. If not, Earth 2 Odyssey is going to get rich, as I'm going to pay people to do these things for me. So, Kangi, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean that's always been, because I'll be upfront. I've been a gamer my whole life, but I'm not necessarily adept at doing that sort of programming work.
Me too.
So it would absolutely be an opportunity for more skilled users to get some of my money to do that if it is challenging. But that said, I think that being invested in this game goes beyond, to some degree, just financial investment, and that, it has to do with community engagement and maybe to some degree me putting in some elbow grease on learning how to do some of these things. So,
yeah,
so I am willing to do some learning, but
yeah,
I totally agree.
I'm willing to do some learning, but not something that's going to take me like 6 months to master. It would have to be something that I could learn in 2 to 3 days.
Right, and also be able, I think, to leverage other people's work in a lot of ways. Like if there's something specific I want to do, I think that's one thing. But basic sort of infrastructure that I might want to put on my land, it'd be nice to have sort of in-game asset store type things that we can use. And I do think that that'll ultimately happen.
Yeah, because I mean, we did on the resources page now. You can see the building blocks. There's a tab for building blocks. There's nothing on it right now, but there's a tab for building blocks. There's a tab for blueprints. So they're laying that framework out there. There's just nothing there yet. So something's coming, though. They wouldn't put that there other than maybe to distract us. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does lead into another part of the announcement. And Snoke, I know I faked you out because I had to tack these parts on a little later, but in the announcement, the tech acquisition that was mentioned in the tweets was mentioned again, and again, to Meta's potential question, still didn't really get any further detail. So I think that this is probably a good transition point. And Hazy, I'll kick it off to you. How do you react to, I guess, a repetitive announcement like this? And we can also talk about the ether component too at the end of the announcement. Yeah. It's all part of the same thing.
So I'm always excited when they do any type of communication. It's better than no communication.
Agreed.
That said, though, I'm a little bit skeptical. this has been a recurring theme, a recurring. We'll say something and then we don't talk about it again for months or at all. I mean, Meta had an excellent tweet. Unfortunately, his Twitter is private, so only those that are following him or being followed by him can see it. But I mean, let's just talk about some of the things that have been tweeted that have been ignored. The Earth 2 job site. They were going to have job listings. Where's that been? The earlier tech acquisition, the six-figure acquisition that he said they did. We've heard nothing about that. The riddles. Oh my God, the riddles. They, like, so many of the thing, and even this announcement with the maybe ether thing. All these little tactics. I think what they do in the long run is, for some people, it distracts them from what Earth 2 is actually supposed to be doing. And it's like I was saying earlier, if you ignore it, they will leave. So if you ignore it, maybe people will forget about it. So if you send them in this direction, it's like a dog looking at a squirrel. They just look at that squirrel. They don't look at the other things that were supposed to be happening. So this Jules thing, this ether thing is the latest distraction. It's like taking us down this one-way path, and forget about all that other stuff we talked about. Just look at this. And that, to me, that's the dog meets squirrel thing. So I know, Kenny, you kind of agree with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I drink too many beers and I completely forgot about some of this stuff. Like, the distraction tactics, I had to admit, kind of work on my dumb ass, because I forgot about some of the things that, Meta and the others have been, keeping track of, frankly. So
I mean, let's look at the biggest distraction. I forgot the biggest distraction they did, the Easter egg hunt.
True.
I mean, that was a huge distraction. That's all people talked about for a month. They didn't talk about anything else but that. Even after it was over and people were, all they talked about was when am I getting my egg? So just another distraction technique.
Right. People are admittedly not patient, but it was something that seemed, put together maybe on short sort of notice. Again, to use, a term, a kind of a pejorative term, but it's again a distraction. But Snoke, how do you feel about it? Do you agree with that, characterization, or are we being too hard on them for some of these things?
To be honest, like I said earlier, I think that they're working toward their end goal, and we all know. Well, we all have our own ideas of what that end goal is, and it's going to take time. So with the Easter egg hunt, stuff like that, they're giving us something to do in the meantime. It is my opinion on what it is.
That's fair.
Some people could also take that as, they don't really have an end goal, and they're just throwing this here and throwing this here, and don't remember about that. Just like Ether, never has anyone mentioned Ether before, and all of a sudden, the very last word in the announcement, Ether, and everyone's speculating on what it could be, what it could be used for. And like I said earlier, I mean, people forgot about Essence. Like, Essence, they said Essence was the start of Phase 2. Now we're moving away from that, too. So it's like, okay, like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, he did say Essence was coming.
He did say that, yes, he did. But, and then another thing is, blockchain. I know a few weeks ago he announced blockchain.
I think Ether is blockchain.
Oh, really?
But wasn't Essence supposed to be blockchain?
Not anymore, I don't think. I think they've reworked it.
I see.
That's my educated guess.
Right. But so that's why I say, like, it could be one of those two things,
No.
and I hope it's just that they know their end goal and they're just giving us something to do in the meantime, because it is a community project, So
something that is near and dear to my heart: public relations. I mean, I can talk about it now that they actually have hired a public relations firm. I did interview with Shane and another person for interim public relations. They weren't looking for something full-time from me, something to be a stopgap, but it turns out they had a really quick deal come in place from a major gaming PR firm. And while it's not officially announced today, we did see two people from the Vicarious public relations firm, Aaron and Keona, if I say that right, but something with a K, They showed up in the Discord. It said E2 PR. So, and they confirmed that they're going to be doing the PR. So that in itself excites me. My whole time wanting to do PR for Earth 2 wasn't out of my self-interest. It was because I wanted to help Earth 2. I offered to do it for free and I meant it. And so seeing that they've actually taken the step to sign a public relations team to me means a lot. It's a great giant step. My only concern is, will they understand the community they're dealing with? I think it was Aaron who said something, oh, this is just like your typical gaming community. And no, it's not.
Definitely not.
This is not a typical game. This has people have tens of thousands of dollars involved. This is not your typical gaming community. And I hope they learn and understand that over the course of time. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for now, but they really need to dig in and understand who their customer is and what they're doing. Kangi, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I basically echo that statement. I think it is a typical gaming community, probably in some of the demographic breakdown and some of the like irreverent jokes in the chat room. But at the end of the day, there is a lot more front end sort of funding where it's a lot more like a heavily crowdsourced sort of investment. So it is a bit different in terms of, I would say, the weight of some of the announcements that come out. There are ramifications in the marketplace, or with, you know, with fear and doubt, with FUD coming in, and you know, I just think that sometimes it's a bit more delicate than would be the development of a game that doesn't have, you know, anybody's money in it. Snoke, how do you feel about it?
You know, I'll be honest myself. I'm not. I don't understand public relations too much. I don't understand the idea of it too much. Now, I did look up the website, and I see all the other companies they do. I mean, they even do HBO, which was kind of odd to me for being a gaming public relations company. But
Well, they do some huge games. I mean, League of Legends.
yeah, so that's, you know, I understand that it's a big company. It's a great thing for her too. And even the two PR people that did show up in chat, they seem like great people. I know. I think it was Kiona. I think that's how you pronounce it. She jumped in chat and she got right along. I mean, the first thing I saw was a GIF of her, eating the popcorn while chat was going crazy before the announcement. So I think that was pretty cool that they're active with the community. So yeah.
Yeah. And, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, PR, you know, there's definitely, I think, a lot of value in presenting the message carefully and professionally. To some degree, PR can be viewed a bit cynically because it is, you know, some spin doctoring work at times. But at the same, you know, at the end of the day, I think that it's yet another example of Earth 2 using our money to invest in the company itself, which is always a positive thing.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And I mean, this takes to the point of the people that think that Earth 2 isn't serious and that they're just doing this haphazardly. I think that's evidence that they're not. I mean, why would they go to the trouble of, if they wanted to be haphazard, they would have hired me.
You're selling yourself short, but I do understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, because this is an investment. With me, it would have been either nothing or minimal. So, but the thing I want to say about PR, what they need to understand is how to take what is important to the community. Interactions with the developers. We need to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, have more consistent, regular updates. You can't just be fighting off the negative naysayers that are on YouTube. You need to be doing more than that. You need to be presenting a positive image of the work that's being done. And if they don't do that, then I think they're missing a key step of what public relations is all about.
Well, I do think, like, one thing I noticed that in the NBA Top Shot Discord is that they'll do office hours with some of their higher up sort of developers or community reps. And so there's some announcement, some sort of forewarning that's a little bit, it's not like a full blown, Reddit AMA or anything like that, but it is a little bit more of an opportunity for the community to maybe get prepared, ask, relevant questions instead
Yeah.
of, oh my God, Wolfgang showed up for the first time in a month. Let's get all of my scatterbrained thoughts, spilled into the Discord with like a 45-second
Yeah.
cooldown because everyone's lost
Well,
their mind.
I know I've already shared this with you, but I'm going to go ahead and, since we're on this topic of public relations, I'm going to share what I talked with Shane about when I had my call with him. Things that I thought that were important. I think so we can talk. I talked about the communication of the phase 2 timeline. Didn't have to be specific, but need to kind of let us know what's going on. Not a date specific roadmap, but a vision specific roadmap. This is what we have planned. The website, having a news announcements page, handling all announcements through this rather than 5 different social media platforms. Having people go, oh, there was an announcement? I didn't know. Because when you have to do it through 5 different places, people that play Earth-2, they always go to the Earth-2 website. They don't always go to Discord. They don't always go to Twitter. They don't always go to Facebook, but they go to Earth-2. So if you have something major that you want to announce, it needs to be announced there.
Yep.
Absolutely. It'd be way more valuable than like the logo and the ticker on the front page, Put
Yeah.
a big old flashing siren.
News, and it flashes when you have a new post.
Right.
The other thing, act as a liaison between the community and development team. Collect important questions, weed out the trivial ones, and direct to the right people on the team. So many times you see the devs come into chat and people are asking, do you like pineapple on pizza? Or do you like cats and dogs? I mean, this isn't stuff that, while it's interesting, that would be something that would be more appropriate for like an Ask Me Anything, a moderated Ask Me
Or
Anything.
if we had more, frankly, more access and information. As it stands, our time with them is frankly too valuable and short.
So I wanted a more focused interaction with the developers, answering questions that had importance and meant something. I also wanted interviews with members of the dev team. Streams, Q&As, just a 30 to 60 second video of their daily life doing their Earth-2 work that they can put on their team page. Just things like that, show the Earth-2 team and show the work they're doing and get the community understanding why this is taking so long. It's fine that this takes long, but show them why it's taking that long. If you do that, then people are going to be a lot more understanding.
Yep.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
So that's my PR take. That's what if I was running PR, that's what I would have done.
So are we going to get an interview with one of the devs soon?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think we would have a better shot at getting an interview with a dev than most of the other content creators. But that's probably going to be up to this new PR firm. So I'll try to work my magic.
We'll see if they see this. Maybe they'll reach out to our people. We'll talk to your people.
Exactly.
All right. So pretty short podcast for us. Normally we run an hour. This is only about 30 minutes, but that's okay. It looks like things are going to start picking up, but we're probably going to just stick to weekly for now. But once we have more information, more things to do, and if I can get some more guests on, we might go back to 2 times a week. But for now, we're going to stick with 1 a week. Anything to add, Snoke?
Other than that, I mean, like you said, we're still here. We're not going anywhere. So you still have to listen to us.
Yeah.
Yes, and you still need to like, subscribe, and do all that fun stuff.
Exactly.
And Kangi, anything to add?
No, but I'm super down to go back up to 2 weeks when, things start to get rolled out, because
I
do love doing this. And I think that, get a kick out of, interacting with the community. And we got to do some more giveaways once things pick up.
Oh, I actually have a giveaway plan, so we're going to do that. I think we'll do that on the next.
Send you some more money.
We'll do that on the next podcast. All right, so this has been the My Name is Human Earth2.io podcast, brought to you by mynameishumanpod.com. Make sure to check out the website. You can go check out the Mystery of Ben Godinzi article. We didn't talk about that at all.
Oh, we didn't.
It's a great article. You can find out really the story behind Ben Godinzi and Earth-2 and GoChain. It's the second most popular article we've ever had on the site, behind Walker's letter to Shane. So go check it out. Go read it. We appreciate you checking the podcast. Give us a thumbs up. And we appreciate you. Hazy out.
Angie out.
Snoke out.
Get up off your knees, girl. Get up. Stand face to face with your God, oh God, and find out what you are. Hello, my name is Human. Hello, my name is Human, and I came down from the stars. Hello, my name is Human.